If you could be any flower, what would you be?
Oh my god. I would be a white rose.
Sunflower.
Daisy.
Daisy?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
A daisy boy.
What? I don't even know what a daisy looks like. What is it?
Why did
It's,
you say?
it's a little yellow like thing with.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
That's what I wanted to be. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to be a sunflower too, but I was like, yeah, no, that's more amber.
Yeah.
Or a rose.
You know, because I'm
Nice.
tall, bright, just shining, facing towards the sun, living my best life.
What if I just said like a blade of grass?
Did you guys pick your favorite flower, or was it just like if you could be one?
If I could be one.
Yeah, if I could.
But
be
also it's my favorite flower.
What did you say again? Sunflower?
Sunflowers are my favorite flowers.
God, what a cringy flower to be.
Why? It's beautiful, bright, tall.
People eat all your seeds.
I don't know how to
Alright.
relate that.
I don't know.
What flower
What'd
did
you
you
pick?
say?
A white rose.
Why?
White rose.
White roses are
That means
so
friendship, right?
Friendship?
Yeah.
What?
Like the colors have meaning. Like red is love, and
I don't think white is just like pure, and like, yeah. And I also like that it has thorns on it because it's like
so you can bleed while you're like giving it to the person.
it's
you
just
love.
so cool that like
Just like,
something
I
so
love you so
beautiful
much.
can
You're
have
like,
something like
so
you
hurt.
like
It hurts.
It hurts.
It's like passion.
But also, red roses they're like kind of
Too mainstream.
too main. Yeah,
Too
almost like that.
mainstream.
White roses, it's like I don't know. It just gives me a.
You're trying to be different.
Not
I'm
different,
fast.
chill,
I want
chill.
to be
It's the hipster
different.
rose.
It's just a.
It's a hipster rose.
I don't know. I would see it as more like a gothic rose, if anything. But
A
that's not what I'm saying.
gothic rose? A
Yeah.
white flower.
Like,
a white
like
rose.
white rose remind me of like
I think
Twilight
like a black
and Death.
rose would
A
be
black
go-
rose would be gothic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A white rose would be like
Okay. Well, I like white rose. Okay.
frolicking.
Are you
I don't
allergic
know.
to all these flowers?
Kind of. But like sunflowers, I just get over my allergies with.
And they
because
have a
they're
lot
so
of
beautiful.
bees on them.
Yeah.
Well, so do any flowers, but
Yeah.
especially sunflowers, I think.
Yeah, but they're just like, have you ever been to a sunflower field?
Yeah.
It's just
I
so
wish.
like amazing how like they're really sturdy. Like they're like
It's like, I wish it's not a dream that's like out of your extent.
It looks, you know,
like walk outside
when
and
you
there's
like run into
sunflowers.
your significant other like in the field, and they always show those like sunflower fields. Like
Yeah.
I want to experience those Bollywood scenes.
I had that
Sure.
moment
You
in
had
a
that moment?
sunflower field, and it was amazing. It was so
Whoa.
cute.
You met your love.
No, but you know,
That's
some-
literally what
some-
it is.
Yeah, that's
No, like you know, it was just like a cute moment.
That's
I went to a
literally that's
sunflower.
very literally what he was saying. and then
Okay, well, it was similar to that. Let's
Amber
move
met her
on.
love in a sunflower field. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
I'm Faras.
My name is Amber.
I thought you were about to say another week, another flavor. I was like, we're done already.
This is brought to you
Yeah.
by Alif Theory.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I missed you guys. I wasn't on the last two podcasts, but I was thinking about you guys. I listened to what they were saying, and I have a lot to say about what they said, but you know what? Just hit me up on the Strange Flavors account, and we'll talk about it there.
Well, you know,
'Cause-
Amber, since you've been gone, we've been on Spotify
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
oh,
Spotify.
snap.
and Podbean
We're doing big out here.
And-
I need to leave
and
more to
MySpace.
get some
Podcast.
And
upgrades.
MySpace.
and LinkedIn podcasts.
Wow.
LinkedIn
You guys are
And-
making moves
And
out
you know
here.
how you know how the Toys R Us shut down? We're on the Toys R Us podcast.
Yeah. They came back.
They
because of
rebranded
us.
into a podcast
because of us.
Oh my gosh.
and we're the only ones featured on it.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
guys. I'm going to go ahead and leave for today because you guys are just like excelling so well without me.
Yeah, you should leave more often.
We had a lot of success
Oh, that's incredible.
after we were able to focus.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I bring you guys down.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I'll just
you
leave
should
more
apologize
often.
to yourself
I'll just leave more
Yeah.
often. No big deal.
because we figured it out.
Yeah, we figured it out. The key to success.
Yeah.
It's to be on Spotify because we're there now.
Where
So
else
go
can they
listen
find
to
us, Shamir, on social media?
They can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Strange Flavors. And
It's like informing us like you're having a TED talk right
Guys.
now, which we are also on, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
we're on TED Talk Podcast.
And how about the email?
And the email is at strangeflavors. No, wait,
No,
what?
that's-
No, strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com. Send us your love stories. Send us your life stories, questions.
If you want us to talk about like something that you've gone through or something, like send it in. Like let's discuss it.
Yeah, if
it can
you're-
be anonymous.
If you're a country artist, we want your music.
yeah.
DJs,
Mm-hmm.
People send in
producers.
music. There was two different people that sent in music. So
Yeah, so
happy to.
send in
In
more.
Last week,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and we'll put it in the episode. And we're also on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
YouTube-
Hello.
did you
If
say
you're watching
YouTube?
on YouTube, you can see what I'm
YouTube.
doing right
So
now.
subscribe
So yes, watch us on YouTube right now.
and leave us a review on the podcast app.
Yeah, and leave us a review.
And actually, a podcast listener hit us up over the weekend.
Yeah.
Abdul, shout out to Abdul.
Shout
On our
Um,
social media, so you can, talk to us
He
one-on-one.
DM'd us. He was like, "Yo, what's up, guys? Listen to the podcast." And like, we hung out, and it was awesome.
The whole day.
We hung out the whole day. It turned to a whole thing. That's what's beautiful about life. Like, you never know who you're gonna end up
Yeah.
with, what you're gonna end up experiencing, and it was like a whole thing. And it was like,
We started off hiking.
and the whole time he's giving me like, he's like, "Oh yeah, you talked about this during your podcast, and like you do this, and like you had your opinion, like something will be on the radio, or like one of our friends brings up a subject, and he's like, "Oh yeah, for us, like you said that this was your opinion." I'm like, dang, he knows more like than I can even remember right now.
He's
But
like,
that's pretty dope.
That's a nice rock. Oh yeah, Frost, you said that's a nice rock.
Frost, you actually said that you like sedimentary rocks, and this happens to be an igneous. Like, but yeah, that was dope. Anyways, yeah, another person wrote into us. They want to remain anonymous, so we'll read what you wrote and do our best with it. They said, "How do you convince your parents that you don't want to get married anytime soon? I've tried talking to them, but they're just so adamant on their views that it seems like whatever I say goes in through one ear and out the other."
You do the same thing
Yikes.
back, honestly.
You do the
You
same
did what?
thing?
Yeah, just
You
let
force
it,
them to get married?
No, you just like if they're letting what your concerns are go through one ear, not the other. I just think that like maybe you need to do the same thing back. First, have the conversation, and if it's not going well, I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing and have them say what they're saying, and then say okay. That's the best thing I learned actually, as like in my 20s, is if you don't agree with your parents, don't fight with them. Just say okay.
Yeah, but then
Then it happens.
the next thing you
get
know, you're
married.
sitting down next to like this arranged marriage, and you're like, "This will be fine." Like Amber on the podcast said, "Say okay," so I'm sure it'll be fine after this.
Okay, well, don't do all that now. Okay, don't find yourself in that situation, but still.
What do you do for us?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of factors that goes into this, and I think that obviously we don't have the answer, and we don't know what your parents are like. But I would say that, what is it that you're trying to accomplish, or that you want to do instead of getting married, and does it have to do with the person that they're sort of telling you to get married to, or has it been the last few? There has to be some sort of compromise here. Like, okay, if it's about you want to stay focused on what you're doing at the moment, then you have to be able to talk to them about that and say like, "Hey, listen, like I don't have time. I'm focused. I need to be successful. Blah 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 blah." And you have to show them. You have to prove it to them. You're gonna have to do a lot of extra work, but that's how it goes sometimes. I'm guessing this is immigrant parents, because white parents like aren't doing this. So yeah, you have to work hard. And the other part is if it has to do with like you are secretly in love with somebody else, that's a whole different situation. You have to be able to like show them why your happiness matters, and maybe use examples from their marriage that like in order to have a successful marriage and have the kids grow up a certain way, like whatever. There's just so many different. I think that we need more context.
Equation.
There's not one answer to this, but I would just like the best I can do is stay strong and
You
and
got
try
this.
to communicate the best that you can.
But I don't think you have to compromise either, though. Like I think that like. And I'm assuming
It
this
shouldn't be
person's
that
not-
way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
I'm just trying to be
Realistic.
Realistic, I
on
know.
an immigrant level.
Right. I just feel like, oftentimes it's like made it seem like that is like a goal for like brown females to have to do that with. And again, I don't know if she's brown, but I'm assuming that in
We
an
don't know if it's a
immigrant
he
family-
or she,
Yeah.
Okay, he or she.
because I know guys that are under the same pressure too.
All right, well then what I was going to say doesn't apply.
Well, you can
No,
say
go
it,
ahead, because it's a
Yeah.
good perspective from
Like I
the
just
girl.
think that if you have a like I feel like it's almost seemed as a goal for a female brown person to get married, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be like, oh, I want to do this and I don't want to get married. It's like it should be up to you, and not because you're trying to hit these certain milestones by a certain age. I see certain people cringing when they hear how old you are and not married, and it's like that shouldn't matter. Like, why is somebody else's marital choices like even your opinion, and why do you even have to care about it? Like, I don't see oftentimes in American culture, if you're like 28 and not married, nobody's blinking an eye. But then if I say that to an auntie, like, oh, I'm 25, they're like, like, you didn't find anybody yet? And it's like, why is that something that needs to be talked about? Like, that's up to me. Like, I'm not asking you about your personal life, Nyla auntie.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess maybe if we have more context or something, but or if you are somebody listening that has a better understanding of this or can weigh in, like please write into us.
Yeah,
and
or
we'll
comment on the YouTube comments. You know,
Yeah,
you can
like
help,
Abdul.
help each other out. Yeah.
Shout out Abdul. By the way, we started the day with Abdul like in the morning, and we ended up at a like hookah lounge club thing.
We
all the
started
way
off
to the end.
hiking.
We
in
started
the
off hiking,
morning,
yeah,
like-
which was great.
Yeah.
Like the night stuff, that just like I think I'm retired. Like especially I think I know this for a fact. Like I never really liked that scene. It's cool when we like go places and we're like all tired at the end of the day, and then like our friends want to just chill. Then that gives me a place to just like crash and sleep or something. Well, which usually I get woken up by the bouncers because they think I'm on drugs. But like last night was tough.
Why?
And then, bro, it was like
You look like
first
you're
of all,
having a good time, though. I was like
I try to
proud.
be a good sport.
I
try to
know,
be a good
I know,
sport.
and I was really proud
Because
of
we're
you.
already there.
Yeah.
And also like Abdul
not a
was
party
like,
pooper.
yo, this is fun. Like, and I wanted to make sure that everybody has a good time.
Right, right.
And you know, a lot of our friends like came out. They were like, they kind of didn't want
Everybody
to.
came out.
Yeah. And yeah. So after like it was really far away. And then when we were on our way back home, we were getting home at like 6 or something. I don't know.
Jeez.
And all I wanted at that point was like a mocha, right? And so we
I got
McDonald's.
one right here. No.
We go to McDonald's.
Like a
and,
mocha coffee?
Yeah, like an
Okay.
ice mocha. Because Ahmed was driving back home. That's one of our friends, and I wanted to like try to stay awake with him.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't usually get sleepy, but I was really tired. And like we go in the McDonald's, and a whole fight breaks out. Like this, we're like trying to get our food, and they were only serving breakfast because it's 6.
Oh my god.
And we were trying to go for like a midnight snack. And so this guy with a red hat, I don't know if it seemed like he was like he was a white dude, maybe he was like a conservative, and this black woman, like they were kind of going back and forth. And then everyone's kind of looking out the window. Even the people working at the McDonald's are like looking out. They're like, okay, can we keep it moving? There's a line for the drive-through like going so far back.
Oh, so they're
At 6
arguing in the
a.m.?
drive-through?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying the drive-through is
Okay.
filled, and inside it's packed,
Okay.
right? Because nobody's moving
At
because
6
everyone's watching
a.m.?
this.
What McDonald's are you going to at 6 a.m.?
There's
That's
I
packed.
think it was 5:30 right now.
It's packed at 5:30?
It's packed.
Dang.
And I think people are going to work or whatever. And okay, so then out of nowhere, I think he said something. The lady swings on the guy.
Swings.
And then swings, hits him in the
man.
chin, and he starts holding his face. He's like screaming and stuff. And then I don't know if it was her boyfriend or husband or her son. It's hard to tell.
Whoa.
all of the above.
It
He
couldn't have
comes
just
running
been a
out.
guy
He comes running out and
person.
swings on the dude.
Oh my.
and knocks him out. The dude is on the ground, and now people from the drive-through get out of their cars to try to help the situation, and it was just totally just like
Wait,
shut
they're
down.
getting out of their cars to go inside?
Well, everybody was watching, and they're all like on their phone, and they're like, you know, they didn't help or do anything. They didn't try to defuse the situation until after he swings and the dude is on the ground.
What
and
were you
then-
guys doing?
We're waiting for my ice mocha, bro. Like, I'm not into this. I don't care about your World Star production happening right next to me. I just want my ice mocha. And like, our friend, like my brother and our friend Saad, they wanted food, and they couldn't get what they wanted, so they never ended up getting anything. And we were waiting the whole time, and it was just like, yo. I mean, the whole point of that was just to say that this scene.
It's
It's not, I can't be doing this anymore.
Yeah. Don't go to McDonald's at 6 a.m. That's what we
that's
learned.
the scene. That's the
the
scene you
scene.
can be part of.
It was entertaining at the
Yeah,
least.
I think it was cool. It was
But
also
I
like
hope,
super tiring because we did one thing after the other. As soon as one thing ended, we were like after we went out, we're like, oh, let's go get shawarmas. I'm like,
Oh,
we're
the
like,
shawarmas were the best part of the night.
yeah,
they
but
were
we were
so
like,
good.
it was already so late. Then we have to park our cars. It was raining so bad last night. So
You
it
got
was-
your car parked for you, so don't even.
I know.
Okay.
But, you know,
But it was fun.
fun.
All experiences are.
Sounds
Experiences.
exciting.
Did you guys see this? I think we have to talk about this. The Michael Jackson documentaries that came out on HBO.
I have not.
Oh man.
So, Leaving Neverland.
Yes.
That came out on HBO recently, and there was that Oprah interview too. Did you see that by any
I
chance?
didn't see the Oprah
Who she
interview, but I
interviewed?
saw the.
She
2-part
interviewed the
document.
victims that were in
Oh.
or supposedly the victims in that the documentary with the director sitting next to him, and it was a room full of like other victims, sexual abuse
of Michael
victims.
Jackson.
No. in general. Bless you.
The heck?
I think you've
What
ever
was
sneezed
that?
on the podcast.
What was that?
That was such a struggle. I couldn't open my sweatshirt in time.
It sounded like you laughed for a second.
Ew, now whoever uses this
I
mic
sneezed
is
on my arm.
disgusting, Amber.
I literally sneezed on my
You
arm.
sunflower.
Oh,
All right.
Oh, thanks. I'm a
So yeah, room full of other sexual abuse victims. And so, anyways, I think so. We talked about this topic a little while ago, and we got a lot of heat
We did.
from Instagram and YouTube. And this was because people were upset that the facts were not checked.
Sure.
Now I can understand where they're coming from, and there was a lot of Michael Jackson supporters, and this documentary had not come out yet.
Right.
So the flack we were getting was really like, you guys need to do your research. There's been he's acquitted on all 10 of the
14, I think.
Okay, in the documentary I believe they said 10 or 11,
Oh, okay.
but
and it was like a 10
Of the allegations.
plus years of investigation, right?
Yeah.
and so
I think-
and I did
yeah.
read through all of that. I was like, what is this about? Like, because I take that seriously, you know. We do need to do our research when we're talking about these things, and they are sensitive topics. However, at the same time, I think we addressed this last time too. That was not our.
We were posing a
weren't saying-
question.
Yeah, like
The
what
whole
if?
thing was
It
what
a
if,
what if?
if it becomes what R. Kelly's documentary presented,
Right.
In a similar way, like you know what? Because in R. Kelly's documentary, you don't see photos, videos, you don't see lawyers saying like, okay, yeah, yes, this is true or anything. It's just you hear stories, right?
Right.
And people are like, wow, I did not know that it was to this extent, right?
Right.
And
And I
that's
think
what
it
our
was-
question was like, what if that happened? And I think that, you know, people felt that it was insensitive almost, which I understand. Like, I'm totally
Right.
understanding
Yeah.
of that. Now that this documentary has come out, if you have watched it, there's a lot of people that, you know, are now like, I didn't understand. I didn't want to believe this. I had heard these stories before, but the way that they have told the story, it seems like it is very believable to
Right.
to the extent of the descriptions. You know, they have counts of everything happening on a timetable that is provable. That when they were spending time, right, but not what was going on in the bedroom.
Right.
Now, the director has said that it doesn't matter about interviewing anybody else in the estate because they also were not in the bedroom, right? And he wanted to tell their stories. So that was, you know, a criticism that he was receiving.
But part of that is that I feel like there could have been people who were in his life that were interviewed if possible, if they were applicable, because they were saying how there's a maid who said that they saw Michael Jackson spending time with these kids in their rooms and all that type of stuff.
And she's said that she's seen him naked with the boys.
And like, I think she said something about even like the shower and stuff. I just think that if they are going to do a documentary like this, they did a good job of having the victims speak. I do think that, you know, R. Kelly's documentary was 6 parts long because I feel like when you talk about this, you have to go into detail. And while it might not be important to these victim stories, but for contextual reasons, I think they do need to bring in like licensed mental health professionals to be able to speak on the topic of how these victims are basically, you know, address it, because they have their family members of the victims talking about how it affected them. I feel like they should have had like professionals come in and speak on their behalf.
So I disagree with that because the way that the documentary was, R. Kelly's was very one-sided. Everybody said, nobody was really speaking on the talents or anything of R. Kelly.
Yes, they were. They had the first
Compared to this
episode.
one?
No, the first episode they took a long time to talk about R. Kelly and how he was so talented.
Yeah.
They had his teachers come in and talk. They spent the whole first episode was them just recognizing his talents and where
Yeah.
he was and how he was because of it.
I'm talking about compared to this documentary, it never felt like there was always a state of confusion because these guys were like, but we love him and he is great, and one of them still battles
Right.
his understanding of love for him.
Right.
And that is, I think, honest.
I think so too.
I
but
think
that's
that when
what
you
I'm
bring
saying,
in the psych people and whoever else, then it kind of makes it presents it as if like, you know, that there's an objective to the documentary rather than, and the director had said, I just wanted to tell their stories. And I
Fair.
think that's what that did. I don't think that you can tell their stories while you're bringing in like, oh, psychologically this is what was happening.
No, not like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that they can listen to the victim stories and explain how, on just a general mental health
I think that's
basis,
what Oprah's
what
interview
they
was
would-
for.
Okay. Well, I didn't watch it, so maybe that'll
think if
give
you
me
check that
give me
out,
what I'm
there
missing
is,
from this.
you know,
Because I
people
do
that
feel
are
like
in
I didn't
psychology
get
and
what.
everything.
Like, I do feel like this documentary was incomplete in some ways.
Sure.
Although my perspective on it from the last time that we did talk about it, because when we did talk about the R. Kelly and then we brought Michael Jackson, we proposed a question of what will you do if you watch this, and it does seem the same thing.
Right.
And that did happen for me. I watched it and I was like, oh, like I genuinely believe these victims.
And were you confused?
I was very confused.
And I think that that's the most important thing that we should get out of this.
Yeah.
Is that it's okay to be confused. We
It
live
filled
a
in the
time-
blanks, though. It filled in the blanks a little bit in the sense that when you're understanding, like, well, Michael Jackson was acquitted and he, you know, all these people said it didn't happen and da-da. And then you had these victims saying, like, I myself came out and said I didn't do it because that it didn't happen to me because I wanted to protect him. I still loved him.
But that's
da-da-da.
not what we were battling. That's like...
That's, I feel like for me that filled in some of those holes.
Right, but I'm saying even despite that, our conversation was, how do you deal with that, right?
Sure.
And my whole point was that, like, I think that it's convenient for us to cancel people like R. Kelly and all that, and why I hate cancel culture is because it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're focused on this one person. We're focused on, oh, R. Kelly, yeah, like, who cares about R. Kelly? Now it's Michael Jackson, the greatest entertainer of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this, and now, you know, museums and radios are pulling the Michael Jackson from, like, this is insane.
Right.
And people are now confused about, how do I feel about this?
Yeah.
And the whole point is, like, we live in a time where everybody feels like they have to give their opinion right away. And even, like, I'll say us, like, you know, we run a podcast, people want to know our opinions on things, but I think that it's important that we, despite getting this flack, we do play devil's advocate in that way. And then I do ask the question, what if it happens?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to speak on that because now it's become inconvenient. Michael Jackson is everywhere. We love Michael Jackson. I personally, when I was watching that, you know, the whole time, like, I was listening to their stories, but I was also realizing I just totally, like, adore Michael Jackson. Like, as in,
I mean, and they were saying that they do too, but I think that's a
it's
problem.
hard not to.
I think that cancel culture is very black and white, and that's why we can't have it be like either we're canceling people or we're not. It's like everybody has to decide for themselves what they feel with the situation. You can't just be like, oh, if you do these types of things, you're in this type of box. I don't think that it can be like that. I think you have to assess each thing separately, and however you feel like it feels to you. For example, if you're somebody who was molested and you can, like, you know, identify with the experience of the victims, you're going to feel way more strongly than someone who had nothing to do with it. And for them, that is going to make them cancel them. And for them, it's fine.
I think I see what you're saying. I think it's confusing, though, also saying, like, focus on each situation, because when we do focus on R. Kelly or just on Michael Jackson, then we're making them individuals, and we're not realizing that the bigger picture here is not, this documentary was not about Michael Jackson. It was about the victims.
Absolutely.
And
but
the whole
that's
thing
what
is,
I'm
and
talking
same
about,
with R.
cancel
Kelly.
culture, like,
Right.
about canceling Michael Jackson because of it. I'm saying we can't just be like,
Well, I don't believe that
we're not
in
we're not
that
putting them in two
period.
categories, though. But I think that that's the problem that we had with our last conversation too, is that we constantly are like, either people are being canceled or they're not being canceled, and we need to figure out if we're gonna have this cancel culture or not. The problem with cancel culture is that we are saying you are canceled, you're not canceled, or whatever, and we're deciding that as a society as a whole, and because we have social media to all put our opinions in. But we don't need to do that. We all can have our own opinions. We can all decide on our own what it means to us and how we feel about that subject
So it's
matter.
also like Michael Jackson, R. Kelly are our neighbors and friends and family. Like, these people exist in real life. And when we're saying, like, oh, situational, then we're like, oh yeah, like, Michael is canceled forever. All right, moving on with life. It's like, no, what message did we get out of this? When do we check people? When do we have these conversations? When do we believe people?
And I think
Because all
certain
of a
people are
sudden-
equipped to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And some people are not equipped to have those conversations. And that's when they decide on a personal level, do I want to even, like, do I want to have an opinion on this? How do I feel about this, and assess it accordingly? Not everybody needs to be a spokes advocate or a spokesperson on this whole topic. They don't need to all,
Facts.
you know, be talking about how this is the worst thing in the world or the best thing in the world and this person is this and this person that. Sure, share your opinions because they're your own opinions, but, you know, not everybody's opinion. I'm not saying that it matters, but it matters to themselves.
All right, so let's come back, because we could go on to this forever. I want to hear from the viewers what they have to say, and I think this is going to be ongoing, and people are going to continue battling it.
Sure.
For now, and I think, Shamir, you haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if you want to weigh in. But for now, are you listening to Michael Jackson still? Come back to this question.
Ooh.
I mean,
What did you say last time? I'm canceling him as a person, but not canceling his music. Do you stand by that?
I'm going to say, no, I did not say that. I said that I'm going to watch the documentary and see how I feel. Those were my words.
Right, but you said if it presents to be true.
No, I said I would decide based off how I feel. I did not say I would cancel him or his music, either or. I said I'm going to decide the whole thing based off of when I watch him.
You said I would cancel
Refer
Michael
back
Jackson
to
as
and
a
come
person.
back because you can check it. So,
Okay.
yeah, basically what I feel is I'm like how I said about the documentary. I'm confused by the whole situation. I don't feel like it solved everything for me. I don't really know how I feel about it. There's a lot more that I'm confused about, but I'm also not listening to Michael Jackson on a daily basis. Am I getting upset when his music is playing around me? No. But
They were playing it last night at the club.
yeah. I mean, and it's not making me upset. I'm still singing along. But if I'm talking about Michael Jackson as a person, I'm not going to applaud him as a person, as a human being to, like bringing him up. I'll applaud him as an artist and I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think from my standpoint, hearing all this does make me like a little upset or sad. It saddens me, I guess. But I think you shared this post from Lupe Fiasco on your story.
Great post.
And I clicked on it, and he literally explained how I felt exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, he did bad things, but he also did very good things too, right? And it doesn't overshadow the other things. Like, you can still...
Both can coexist.
Both
That's
can
the point.
coexist.
That's the whole
Right.
point.
And
Right.
I was like, this is exactly how I feel. And I said on the last podcast, like, his music did so much for me and so many other people. And, like, people were arguing on YouTube, like, that's not why we're supporting him. It's just, the FBI found this. I was just saying, like...
It's not about the facts.
It's not about the facts. Like, his music still does a lot to me. And I think his intention of making those songs was to put pure joy out there. He was trying to be positive.
He was confused himself. Like, we don't know the
Right.
psyche of him,
Yeah.
but that's not inexcusable at the same time. Like, he still did bad things.
Like, it's messed up. Yeah.
All of those things can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what I did was, like, I was next morning when it was like, I could not stop thinking about it. It really, like, that documentary will, like, change the way you feel, but, or, like, give you mixed emotions. And I sat down with my mom, and her and I both love Michael. Like, she loves Princess Diana.
I don't know why, but a lot of immigrant parents love Michael
My
Jackson.
parents
It's
love
so
everybody
weird.
That's how I knew
No,
about
but
him.
like my parents don't like other like big pop to other type figures.
yeah.
But
Well, he
Michael
was just,
Jackson,
I think because they see clean and pure, like, positivity and all. Like, there's a lot of, because Michael never had anything until, like, this started showing up.
but
it
this
exists a
has
little
been
bit,
but this has like been around
But-
since early 2000s.
but it was always dismissed. We don't see that stuff the same way we see it now.
No,
then it
I
was
don't
like
think
we were
so.
very
Because
defensive.
no, I remember sitting there in front of the TV watching like Michael go into the courtroom, them giving updates. We're
Yeah,
like
it was
sitting
crazy.
there
But
around the TV.
But
that
the
was
Me
a
Too
big
movement
part of the
and all that did not
that
exist
didn't
like it does
exist.
now.
It did not exist,
It's a
but-
lot more like serious. But yeah, like we sat there. I told
The
her what
social
happened,
climate's
and then
different.
we listened to his music. Like, but it was out of like, it wasn't like out of joy. It was like, damn, like Michael, like he was both these things. That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, like let us know what you think about all of this, and I think we'll continue to work on how we feel about this, because there's not one answer, and you're allowed to have mixed and confused emotions. So for today's podcast, she's been sitting here patiently waiting.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably like so awkward. Like, what is this
yeah,
going on?
because she has so many opinions on all of this, everything that we're
I know.
talking
She's making
about, probably,
faces and everything.
But yeah, today's guest is Divya Jethwani. We met her in New York not too long ago, and we have been friends with her since then. And she is this really cool human being who is like
she human?
Probably, I don't think so, because she is one of the smartest people I think that I've ever
she's
met.
out of
I
this
don't think
world.
But yeah, we're gonna get to sort of dive into her mind and see what makes her Divi Dubai. So everybody, please welcome Divya. Hello, Divya. How are you?
Welcome.
Now,
Welcome to Maryland.
Now you were listening to the beginning part of what we were talking about, and I think it's important for the viewers to know that you were the reason that we had to go out last night to this whole situation.
Honestly, the whole squad went out.
Thank you for that.
I'm actually really thankful you guys all came out. That was
We did enjoy it to an extent. Just
To an extent.
I just
To an extent.
like dancing is so much fun, and like
that's what it was for you. Just like dancing and being with good
I
company.
enjoy dancing. And
Was it good company? Oh
Wow.
throwing
Just
that
kidding.
shade.
Just kidding. I'm here visiting you guys. It was great company, obviously.
Was this like, why did you come to Maryland out of all places? Like,
I don't know. I
like
just
a
like
break?
yeah, I just like needed a break from the city. New York's kind of overwhelming.
Did you get that break?
I did.
Okay.
It's good to just be in like suburban America with good company.
Now, I think that one of the coolest things, like, just to get this out of the way, is that when we first met you, we found out you speak like a billion languages. I think that's one of the. I think before we even get into your background, like, I think this interests people enough to start off with. So, like, what are some of those languages, and how did you even pick up on all of them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my like entire upbringing was the reason why I learned different languages. I used to have a helper at home growing up who only spoke Hindi, and that was the first language I learned before I could even speak English. And I was in school at this point. My teachers were like, she can't speak English. What's going on? Like, Mom, you need to get on this. Like, make her speak English. That's when I learned English.
Where were you in school?
In Dubai.
Okay.
And in Dubai, you kind of have to learn Arabic up until a certain grade because it's just the national language. And then I did French, and Sindhi is my mother tongue. So
Why French?
You did French in school?
I did French in school,
Okay.
yeah. So you had to pick like one,
Right, like an elective.
whatever. Like they had French, Spanish, Hindi, and my mom didn't really want me to learn Hindi because I spoke
You
it
already knew it,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. So I can't read or write Hindi, but I can speak it fluently. And then I learned Sindhi because of my grandma, and then she used to have all these letters and stuff from like back in like India Pakistan times, and so my great grandma, not my grandma. And it was like nice to be able to read that and like translate it out of Arabic because the script is the same, and then it just helped me kind of like understand my history, ancestry, like their thoughts, emotions, what was going on at the time.
And then
And, like,
Spanish.
And then I learned Spanish when I moved to New York. And then
How? Why?
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh yeah, so like I did this and I learned these 5 languages here, and I kind of went over here.
And we're not just saying like, oh, she like, you know, took a class. Like, she knows the languages.
Yeah, like
so
she can
that's
speak.
what's like,
She can speak the
like
languages
fluently.
Like, to the point where we're driving in the car back from the club last night, and we're like, you know, different songs are playing, and she's full blown singing along in Spanish, in Punjabi, in English, in like every language. She's putting on like random language songs and just singing them all fluently. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
It's like
how
a
do you,
robot.
like, what is this?
I think like for me, understanding someone's language is understanding the way that they think. And like this is something I've realized that like Google Translate can't like put Google Translate always messes up Spanish like sentence construction.
Google Translate in general just doesn't,
messes everything
it
up.
doesn't get the message across.
Yeah, and I think that your language and like linguistics is like a very important part of how you think and how you convey things, and each language has like a beautiful way of like speaking and saying things differently. And I love traveling and like speaking to people, just being able to communicate with them on like their level and not enforcing this concept of like, oh, you can't speak English, like, oh my god, blasphemy. Like,
Now, before we get into like your upbringing, does it ever get lonely knowing so much and like only being able to relate to people on like a
Certain
singular
groups.
You know, like you can only speak this language to this person and that language to that one, but there's
There's no other Divya with like 18 other different languages that you can speak with.
yeah.
I actually think it's more not, it doesn't get lonely because there's so much variety of like
I guess it's how you take it, because if that was me, I'd be like, oh, Thanos, like I know all these languages.
like just like going back to the concept of coexisting, right? So I totally believe in the power of like connecting different cultures, connecting different people, and like sure, like someone I know that speaks Spanish might not necessarily connect with a brown friend of mine, but like just me being that like middle point and like being coexistent.
And by brown, you mean South Asian.
By South Asian, yeah. Like, I mean South Asian and then Hispanic. So, like, I have a lot of, like, friends that we connect on because I enjoy a lot of, like, reggaeton, Latin music, and, like, go out to, like, certain classes, dance classes, and, like, just have those friends. And then I also have South Asian friends who, like, not necessarily can relate with those people, but when you put them both in the room and, like, we're more similar as people than like, we realize. And a lot of, like, cultures, borders, like, everything, it can be blurred. Like, everything can be blurred if we come down to, like, the fundamental, like, atomic construction of a human
but at the same
being.
time, I think only you have that understanding.
And, like,
It's
that's...
like a privilege.
It's a privilege to have that understanding, and I think that helps me, like, navigate certain situations, empathize with certain people, and like I think it just helps me be a more open-minded and tolerant person. And if there was more of that, and people put in that like little extra effort to like go
and
out,
I guess that's what I mean by lonely. Like, you know, I mean, you don't know the answers, but like, you know that these two people are thinking the same way.
Yeah.
And you feel like you could save a lot of time and people if they had the same understanding as you. Does that ever get like annoying?
I mean, I go out of my way to like encourage people to do certain things, or like push them to a certain extent, be like, hey, you should try this, hey, you should do this. And like I feel like people like are now becoming more open-minded and tolerant just because of how like time and space convergence. Like you can go from like America to like the other side of the world in like 24 hours, and the world is becoming a smaller place. And I think people are finding the importance of overlapping cultures more important, like bicultural, multicultural things are more important. And yeah, it does get lonely sometimes when I'm like, oh, I have all these like different groups going, but it's also possible to like put all those groups together. Like my birthday, for example, was a perfect example of that. There was people from like different things that I did, different activities, clubs, like intercultural things that I'd been a part of, and like just seeing all those people in the same room. And every single person messaged me saying, when I walked into your party, I maybe knew like 3 to 5 people out of all the people that were there, except I left with more friends than I came in with. And I'm like, that's the beauty of it, where it's like when you put all these different people in a social setting and it's all the positive things, people forget that there's like all these negative things that they like harbor inside them. And like that, those like 3 hours help open people's minds, be like, okay, like I don't need to be hating on someone because they're like of this nationality, of this religion, they speak this language. I don't need to be hating on them because like we fundamentally are like humans.
Yeah. Nice peace rant.
Beautiful.
Just kidding. Okay, so Divya actually saved us like from this
multiple
times, but like this parking garage situation, which we talked about on the podcast. Yeah. We were like kind of stuck in there, and then she came through, and there was like some immigrant workers there that like we couldn't communicate with, and she was like speaking Spanish to them, and like then like at the same time she was listening to us speaking in other languages, and I don't know how her mind works, but why do you like and I've heard other people say the same thing, like Trisha from Brown Girl Magazine, like, oh yeah, Divya saved me from this. Why do you like go out of the way, literally,
a superhero,
to help people that you may or may not even see again? Like, what is that about?
I don't think it's like going out of the way. It was
we were literally, it was literally New Year's, and you like showed up to that parking garage when you had like other responsibilities.
But I mean,
it's a
sure.
savior complex.
It's
a savior complex.
And you had people like staying. You were like running the event. She was like in charge of one of the people in charge of the event. She had people like at her place, and then she's like, "Oh, you guys are stuck in a parking garage. Where are you?" I'm like, "Divya, like you're not gonna be able to help. It's a whole no. Where are you, Divya? Just relax.
Even
where
before
are you?"
this,
and she showed up.
Even before this podcast, she was like, "Oh, we need to do this." She was like, "All right, you can do this. Like, let me do it for you." It's like, yo, chill. Like,
like what's the thought process there?
I mean, it's. Oh God. I don't really think it's a thought process. I think it's more of like for me, I think it like being a good person is not like putting in effort. For me, in fact, to be like, oh, I'm like watching you struggle and like not helping you, and I know you're going through this, and that's like extra work for me to sit back and like watch this happen versus like go out of my way to do something. And I think for me it like works in the reverse perspective. Just like this is like one thing that my parents have like. It's a strong value, like with both my parents. If they'll go out of they won't go out of their way. Like this is just who they are as people. They're always available. They always like help. They're like just hospitable people, and I think that helps so much in like paying it forward. So like even like say the New York subway in the morning, like the subway's packed. Like there's literally no way to get on. But if someone like gets on, like takes one step back and lets me get on that crowded subway, the rest of my day I'm like, oh, someone did that for me. Like the rest of my day goes positively versus like if someone literally pushed me off the subway and wouldn't let me get on, I'd be like, well, screw this, like I'm gonna have a shitty day, I'm not gonna get to work on time, like that person was really rude, and like that like triggers emotional negativity and like negative energies. And like for me, like it's not like going out of the way to help someone, but it'll be going out of the way to be a bad person and like just watch that happen when I could have.
And that's tough, especially living in New York when it's supposed to be everybody's like
for themselves,
rough and tough, and pushing, and everybody's having a bad day or whatever. But okay, so yeah, you live in New York right now. You've also been in London for a period of time, and you grew up in Dubai.
Right.
How did all of that help shape? Like, we understand what that means, right? Like these are like
Major
cities
places,
with so much diversity and stuff just booming in everything. So like, how did that help shape? Like, you could start at the beginning of like how you grew up. But,
How was Dubai?
Yeah.
I mean, Dubai for me was basically like mini India up until like no, it's like that's what I like to me. I like think of
there's
it.
a lot of Indians there, or you had an Indian community that you were like kind of.
So I think of it on like the whole like proximity level. So it's like the immigrants, like the Desi immigrants, obviously, because like after 1947, there was a lot of people that were like migrating all over the place, like across borders. But there was just certain people, and especially for me, like I'm Sindhi, and I think we're like known or like termed as the international refugees, which is because our hometown is in Sindh, Pakistan. But like when we were made to leave, we don't have a place in India. Like I can't, like my home is in Bombay, or like I have family in Bombay, but I can't say that Bombay is my native like hometown or city. Like I don't have a place that I can say that this is like my origin, or like this is my soil, because my soil is like technically a place I can not go to because I hold an Indian passport. So to us, I think like for me, it's like the whole like proximity understanding, where it's like certain people moved to Dubai because it was close, and like the GCC region, which is like Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi, that area. And then there was other people who like moved further out to like Europe, United States, like Africa, like all those places. So
growing up there.
So growing up in Dubai, there was just so many Indians, and like the Arab population, the Emirati population is like maybe like 15% of the UAE, and like the UAE was built on like by like Indian minds, like my Indian, Pakistani, South Asian. Let's just say South Asian overall, because there's a lot of like different cultures that play a huge role in Dubai. And like my granddad was one of the first few Indians there. Like we were there from before it was even like the UAE, like the Confederation. And yeah, so I grew up with a lot of like people of my kind, and then
you're around a lot of Islamic culture and Muslims, and you know, the like being in a Muslim country, they kind of base everything like Jummah, for example, on Fridays and stuff. Everything shuts down.
Muslim.
But you're not Muslim.
No, I'm not Muslim. So I was raised in a multi-religious household, I guess, and that's like not something I obviously. It's not like something I share all the time, but like my parents are of different religions, and like that was something that like that was the first point of like tolerance, is like being in a house with like parents that have two different religions.
Do you mind sharing what they are?
My mom's Christian and my dad's Hindu.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and they both like, that's like a functioning household. Like you're a child, and like we're, as South Asian kids, we're taught to respect our parents and our parents' views, even if we don't always agree with them, because most of the times, if you're like an open-minded kid, you don't agree with your parents' views, which is fine. But I think that's the first point of tolerance, is just like understanding how like the different cultures and traditions and customs work, and that it wasn't like I wasn't harboring any hate towards like one religion or another. And then
did that give you confusion growing up, or even till now?
I think for me it didn't, because I looked at it. Well, I look at religion as knowledge. Certain like some people convert the knowledge from the books into like emotional outrage, but for me it's like, this is what the book said. That's like fundamental knowledge on like how to be a better person, how to like civil code, that like this should be, if you combined all the books and pulled all the good parts of it, because none of the books preach any negative like
hatred
or like bad natured stuff. It all the books are teaching you how to be a better person in like a certain light or a certain bright of those religions. But if you pulled out all the good stuff from all those books, like that would be like a good person. And what we do is that we twist it to like, we use our differences and diversity against us instead of like putting it together. And like I strongly value having friends with like different opinions, because then like that helps shape my opinion, which is more open-minded or more inclusive of like than me saying, oh well, I hate all these people because like they're not me.
And you think that plays a big role because you had a Christian person in your household, a Hindu person in your household, and then you were in an Islamic environment,
in an Islamic country. So I like fasted for Ramadan certain times when I was in school, and like this, it started off obviously as like because I couldn't eat. So like the UAE, even though as tolerant as it is, like our like school cafeterias used to like not serve food. We had to like stay in a certain room and eat if you were like So if like Ramadan,
during Ramadan.
like during
Okay,
Ramadan,
okay.
yeah. If like Ramadan happened, like they'd change our school hours. Like we'd have that would be like more. We'd have like certain like school hours that would be like good for the kids, so like they're not like straining themselves when they're fasting or like. And obviously, like when
That's nice.
when
Yeah,
you
I
see
know.
someone, like when you see someone like being tempted to eat, like when you see someone eating, you're obviously like there's like some level of temptation that you're like resisting as a kid, and that can be hard. So I'm like, you know what, like I don't have to go out of my way to like go bring food and eat. I can survive from like 8 to 1 p.m. without food. Like let's be real, I can just like.
I don't think everybody.
And then you lasted the
would or
rest of the
could
day
do
when
that.
you got home.
Yeah, and so it started off small, obviously. So when I was in school, I wouldn't eat when I was in school, and then I'd get home and obviously have like a late lunch or an early dinner or something like that. And then like as I was growing older, I was like, yeah, I mean, this started off just because I couldn't eat, but it turned into more of like, this is a respectful thing, and like, and there's nothing wrong with fasting. I mean, like, there's like you can find peace. Every religion has like some aspect of fasting. Like Hindus fast on certain days.
Well, now it's trendy though.
It's for
now
Intermittent
it's
fasting.
The
like
baseline is
intermittent
discipline.
fasting. Yeah, the baseline is discipline and like, I guess restraint and like abstinence from certain things. So
And
it's
appreciation.
yeah. And like every single religion has fasting. Like it's not just that Ramadan is like the special time in the year. Like even for Lent, like Christians, like they give up certain things during like the 40 days leading up to Easter, and like there's different ways of like fasting and like showing your appreciation for like God or religion.
Yeah.
Like if I can do it for like X culture, why can't I do it during Ramadan? Like what? Like why does it matter if like I'm doing it?
Yeah.
So,
Growing up in this environment, was New York a culture shock to you at all?
So it was a little bit of a culture shock in the sense of I didn't have a lot of American kids growing up, and I think American kids have very like different perspectives. To
Well,
me,
when was that? Like, what was the shift from
I
Dubai
moved
to New York?
in 2014. The first time I ever visited America was 2013.
Okay.
So how old were you?
So you're in high school. Or
my-
just graduating high school.
It was before my senior year. I was applying to college to move here.
And you went to US to like look at colleges, or?
Yeah, I went to the US to look at colleges because I kind of wanted to make sure that if I'm moving like halfway across the world, I wanted to be happy where I was. And I need like certain things that just like drive me as a person. And that's why I went like college touring, making sure that I was like making the right choice for the community I was ending up in, the environment I was ending up in. And like ultimately college is something a lot of people view college as like be all end all, but for me college was a stepping stone into the real world. And like what would my college do for me that would prepare me for the real world?
And out of all places, you went to NYU, right?
Yeah.
I know.
How was that?
To sum it up in 4 years, I can't even. Like, I'm so thankful for like all the experiences I've had, all the friends I've made, all the people I've met, cultures I've interacted with. Like, NYU is basically the world in a university.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like New York, because people travel from all over the world and end up in New York. That's one of the first places that a lot of immigrants go to. So going from
That's like
Dubai,
the
which is
number one
more
place.
like
New York.
luxurious type country, you came and you really had to learn the hustle and bustle. Yeah. Was that a hard transition to go into that hardcore New York lifestyle, going on these trains, public transportation? How was that like for you?
Yeah. So like full disclosure, when I was a freshman, I had like the most ideal dorm situation that had a dining hall, a gym, and a lot of my classes and classrooms in the same building.
Oh my god.
Except when winter hit and I had to go back to campus for certain things, I would like shamelessly, this is my biggest like regret. I could have saved all this money when I used to take a yellow cab to just go to certain classes because I was like, it's snowing outside, like this is not happening. I'm here from like 60 degrees Celsius, which is like I guess they're 100 and some 30, 40 in that range Fahrenheit weather, to like our summers there have hit 60 Celsius, which is at least 130 something.
I don't
my
think 130. 130
No, it
is
can.
a ridiculous.
It can.
No, I think you die.
No,
Like, that's how it is in Dubai.
That's 130
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah.
like it's like
In
it's
the
I think we
summer?
need fact checking here.
nationally
going,
recorded.
keep going.
Yeah, we have a fact checker, but
Keep going.
I moved here and then I was like, now I'm in the tundra, so like great, how do I
You
deal
used
with
to
it?
take yellow cabs to your classes?
Yeah, like because I was running so late at that point. Also the other thing, I like suck at waking up, so pretty much
It's
all
okay.
through freshman year my mom called me every single day at the same time to wake me up. And like my mom's woken me up throughout. I'm an only child. My mom's woken me up throughout my life, which is as like privileged as it sounds. Like like my mom used to wake me up and I used to get so upset because I'm like, do I really have to wake up? And like I'd be a brat. But then when I like moved to college, I was like, crap, I can't wake up. I need my mom. Like that's when I was like, what she has been doing for the last like how many ever years of her life, please like keep doing it until I am able to suffice and wake up on an alarm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're an only child.
It does get that hot.
130 degrees.
Yeah, it's just like regularly it could be like around 115. It would go to 120.
You didn't know
above
that? What'd you think it was? Like nice
like
100?
103.
No, that's chill compared to
Okay,
for these.
chill. Like,
all right, it's not chill, but compared to Dubai,
No,
yeah.
like the nice
Like in
places here,
Pakistan,
it
it
can
gets
get to
hot. It's
Miami, it can get
103.
to 100 and
Yeah.
stuff, right? And everyone's like nice.
in
like,
Maryland it gets to 100.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it
And you think that it would be in Dubai, the
it
same
rarely
temperature?
gets to 100. We stay pretty like 90s
No,
here.
it's. I mean, this
no,
past.
it's
this
92
past
to
year-
97.
Okay,
That's
regardless,
still-
you
that's
think
still,
it'd be
like,
the same
close to 100,
temperature
Amber.
here at Dubai
No.
in a desert area?
I just wow.
that
I'm thinking
Okay,
like
you-
even in Pakistan, like
you were
109 degrees.
You're speaking about your parents and stuff. I want to ask you, being an only child, do you think that was a plus or minus to your whole person that you've become now?
I think it was such a plus because, like, yeah, I mean,
Spoiled?
what?
Spoiled?
Yeah, I like
Did you get a lot of attention?
I got so much attention. Oh my god!
Yeah, we can
Like,
tell.
always, okay, just always paying attention. I need to get paid attention.
No, but like you were also involved in like so many different clubs and extracurriculars, and do you think that helped you sort of stay focused and make friends in all of those little groups? Like you did dance and swimming and basketball, and what else? Were you in the Olympics too? Like
Even now, she was like, in the same weekend we went to go visit her, you were running a dance circuit for a completely different organization.
What the heck?
Then you were having us record something
And then she has
with
a
Brown Girl Magazine, which you're connected to. And then right now you're working with like 3 different other organizations. Like, how are you not spread thin?
So I, like,
'cause
as
she's an only child.
because I'm an only child, and like my only obligation is, like, if this is what I think I like missed about having a sibling, was that having someone to like look after or like
Look up to.
She's looking
look
after
up
everyone
to
else.
or look over.
Ooh.
Right, so it's like if I had a sibling, then I'd probably like channel those energies into like that person versus like constantly being looking to like work on myself, or like, you know, it's like collective success versus like individual success leading up to a collective success. Because like my family, obviously, like I like, there's certain things like I want to be able to give back to my parents at a certain age and like do certain things, but like if a sibling was in the equation, then I'd have to like in the moment be like actively thinking about them, versus like now I'm like, okay, like I have to make myself whole so that I can like give back to these 2 people who've like given me all these incredible experiences that like I would, even like if you have a sibling, you know, you can't just like up and out and be like, okay, well, I'm out of here, like gonna travel the world on like what budget, you know, like things have like those things come into consideration unless you're like sitting on like liquid cash that just flows like the rivers.
Yeah, I do take a lot of my time. Like just I take a certain amount of time every day to make sure that my brother and I like fight. So
I thought it was gonna be like something nice.
I know, like to look after my
to look after him,
siblings
you know.
and to
well,
make sure you're on the
no.
right
Siblings do take
track.
up like I spend like, you know, a decent amount of time just on sibling stuff.
Yeah,
And
it does take a lot.
It does, like, not just just that mental space
Yeah.
for them. It has to be there
Just like
because it's another whole person.
sibling.
Even when they're older, it's just like, you know, there's a lot that you like consider for their life when you're making decisions as well. And I think that for you, with your interaction with people, I think that you're very like you have a good, easy to get along with personality for that reason of like you have to interact with all these other people and you
Yeah.
have to know how it works. Through that process, you know, you have a good amount of Pakistani and Muslim friends. And do you ever have to like, does it ever get awkward for you being sort of that like middle line of having both friends from both sides, especially with like recent tensions of both people sort of battling?
So like some of my like closest friends are actually like Pakistanis, and in fact they're Pakistani Muslim, bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bless you.
Second sneeze on this podcast. Thank you. Amber.
Well,
Yeah, so I think it goes from like taking what I can learn from them and their experiences versus like, I mean, every parent is always like, you know, like they warn you, they're like, you know, can't hang out with this person, like this is who they are, like blah blah blah. And like, I am not gonna lie, and my parents are probably gonna kill me for saying this, but like they straight up would be like, you can't hang out with him because they're not good people. And I'm like, but you don't even know them. Like,
Are they gonna watch this?
yeah, I'm probably gonna send it to them.
Comment down below.
Hi.
On YouTube.
Hi, Auntie. Hi, Uncle.
Hello.
Starting the heat start. My mom watches everything. She's like one of my biggest fans, and I wish if
Divya, you have betrayed the family.
if I had like one person.
We heard everybody. The world heard this part of the podcast. You have disrespected your parents.
My mom's probably gonna like say something for like outing her in public, but they like, I think a part of my like journey also was like educating my parents on like, listen, you have all this emotional tension because your parents had all this emotional tension, but like go back to like maybe 3 generations before when everyone lived in peace. Like it's a little like hard thing to do when you're like so far removed from the situation, but I'm like, okay, like there was like a certain generation or like a couple of generations that had all these like emotional tendencies, but like blur those lines and now look at how you're moving forward, because if you keep living in the past, you're just going to keep living in the past and like not be able to move forward. So as I was growing up, whatever, like one of my best friends right now is actually who I met in London and studied abroad with her, was just like a random like by chance interaction, and she like lectures me, scolds me on like 100 things, yells at me.
Oh, so there's a boss to Divya. There's a mind behind Divya.
Yells at me.
We gotta get her on the podcast.
I thought she was the mastermind. There's another.
This
We're having
is
a live call right now.
It's a mutually symbiotic relationship, like
Okay,
mutually
sure.
beneficial.
Sure.
That's exactly what
That's
she told
what-
her
yeah.
to say.
No. Okay, we can. I'll get her to comment on this with her opinions on it. Her name's Asmira. Watch out for it.
Yeah, watch out, Myra.
Oh yeah, I saw her name.
Asmira.
Like, a million
Asmira,
times.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So, and I think that it does get awkward sometimes, especially if like someone has like a fundamental opinion, and then like just how you guys said, say okay, and then like show them through your actions, because like you can keep going back and forth with words and just be somewhere forever, but your actions really do speak louder. Like if you're able to like take that step back, reevaluate, and then take a step forward, you can just like show someone like be an example, like practice by example.
Speaking of which, you have an incredible mind. Last time I came to New York, you were telling me
Bro,
about.
you literally looked at her forehead when you said that.
You have an incredible forehead.
How many fingers? How many fingers?
Okay, listen here, goofies. So, anyways, you have an incredible mind. Last time I was in New York, you were telling me all these different stories, and also just I was observing you. I can't text and talk at the same time, but you could be texting, talking at the same time, and listening to every conversation that's happening around you. If you're sleeping, you can still absorb information. Are you human?
That's the language thing. That's definitely like
Even while
when
you're
you know,
sleeping.
the more languages you know, just like
No,
the
but
smarter and more open
I don't
your
think that
brain
it's
is.
because she knows more languages. I think because she's so smart, she's able to absorb so many languages. I think it has to do with her brain itself to be able to absorb all of that. Like not
You
everybody.
know, like dissect it.
No, I'm just saying, how does that work? Because I don't think that like everybody who lived her life could have just gained the knowledge that she has, or learned all these languages that easily.
Genetic
Most people,
engineering, maybe.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Mom, Dad?
she
Mom?
like
She's not
survival
gonna
of the
share that.
fittest. Like I don't know what's happening here.
Mom, Dad, I don't know.
Like how did the Bay give you up? I don't know how America deserved this.
I think that was yeah, like my high school teachers like always had this concern, so every time my mom
Concern.
Yeah.
my like mom would show up to like parent teacher meetings, and the teachers would be like, listen, like we have something to say, like your kid gets the grades, but like she sleeps in all our classes, so like what's going on? Like I would be like, so I used to teach dance when I was a kid. I started teaching with a company
Yeah.
when I was 14. So like I would just be exhausted like after weekday classes every evening. I would come home, like do minimal homework, and then just go to school.
You're one
Tired.
of those.
Like I was one of those, and then like,
Who were you learning on? Like, who was your inspiration? Were you like listening to some sort of Gary Vee in Dubai?
Like
Gary Vee didn't exist. Like
Gary Khaled, like who were you listening to in Dubai? Like, who was your
Gary.
inspiration while you're like, how are you learning all this stuff? Like, to just do it.
How do you do minimal homework and sleep and still get the grades?
But they're telling your mom that you're still able to answer all the questions.
So this was like actually like one of my teachers was like, we used to have a love-hate relationship, because like she would like so she'd try to like make me work harder, and I was like, okay, I'm trying. Like, I'm really, like, I'm at this point, I was actually stretched too thin. And I was like, I really am trying. I'm not getting enough sleep. I need to take a nap. Like, and would forcefully take naps in her class. Like, just be backbenching, like, taking a nap. And then she, like, picked on me this one time. She was teaching something. And, like, I had been a little efficient and, like, caught up on that subject before the week started. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to read this, like, chapter at home, like, for the sake of it, because I know she's teaching it. And then she picks on me, and then, like, obviously I'm, like, somewhat asleep, and I used to sleep with my eyes open, so no one thought I was asleep.
Oh my god!
What
Of
the
course
heck?
she is an android. She is not human.
That's what I'm saying.
She's-
It's so
Say-
weird.
But, like, that was
Say
all,
no more.
That was
We've
also
gotten the
just,
answer.
like, that was out of fear of, like,
She's like this. Her eyes are
But
coming.
how did you, like, how were you able to keep your, like what are you,
like, you know when you, like, when you're scared that you're gonna get suspended because you're, like, sleeping in class?
So you just keep your
No.
eyes open
No,
while you
I
sleep.
Actually, I'm not relating to that because I used to sleep in class, but I was dumb. as hell.
But you decide to just open your eyes and sleep. Like anyone can do that.
No, as in, like,
like zoning out.
no, I was, like, fully consciously asleep.
You're like you have your eyes open.
she
You're
said,
like
she's just said, she said fully consciously asleep.
God, that means she knows she's sleeping, and also that she's awake.
Like,
She,
you know,
she
like,
has like a power button in the back or something.
there's, like, you know how you have the different, like, memories, like, REM, sleep.
You said you don't
Listen,
need REM,
I don't want
right?
to talk about this anymore. I have a fear of God. Okay, listen. What is
I have a
the?
fear of God.
Let's talk about what you currently do. What's the industry that you work in?
I work in, like, branding and strategy, so I do a lot of brand consulting, market research, strategy development, business things for, like, different brands, and then that's my full-time job. And then I also, I guess that translates into, like, brand partnerships and cultural branding for my other facets of my life.
How much of like the world do you have to keep up with when you're doing all that stuff? Does that ever get exhausting, like knowing what is out there instead of like you could just like do the job? But
I mean, in order to do the job, and, like, if you're working in an industry where, like, the consumer is king, you kind of have to know what your consumer is. Like, you have to empathize. If you're, like, understand, like, you can't just, like, this is also, like, another, like, opinion I have, and I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but, like, when people put content out, think about the content that you're putting out. Like, you're creating content. Like, do you have a consumer, or are you just creating content for the sake of creating content?
But Divya, in order to get the consumers that you want,
Yeah.
you have to do what everyone else is doing and do the trending stuff and do what it takes for the clout just to even get the exposure.
But recently, just
I'm
by
just
doing
being
that,
the critic that's
just
going to
being
be listening.
And I'm also a creative, so I completely understand. Like, you have to do certain things to get out there, but doing what everyone else is doing and going through the motions doesn't help you or your brand, because, like, like I said, time and space convergence, like the power of technology, everything's just so open and available now. Like, there's so many people on the internet. Like, forget how many people there are in the world. There's so many people. Like, in one click, I can find someone who, like, is a complete opposite of who I am as a person, and, like, have a conversation with them. And, like, if you're trying to build up a consumer base, or, like, if you're trying to brand and, like, establish yourself as a brand, you need to build a community. And to build that community, you need to understand your community. You can't just push something down a community's throat and be like, okay, well, like, you are, like, my X number of followers, and I'm gonna, like, dump all this on you and hope that you enjoy it. Like, if you're thinking that way, like, are you even enjoying making that content? Like, are you speaking to your community when you do that, or are you just speaking?
Like, what do these things do for you?
I, like, strongly value interpersonal reactions and interactions. So, like, I can't really relate. I'm never able to relate to, like, a celebrity until I've, like, seen them in person and had, like a conversation. Like, you know how some people find, like, figures in, like, a lot of, like, pop culture, and, like, I can have opinions on those things, but I can't necessarily be like, I fully understand, because I haven't experienced that, or, like, no one around me has, like, given me that experience. I can, like, passively learn from you and try to implement it, but, like, that it might not be successful. So, like, that's what I get from, like, all these people around me, is the interpersonal interaction and, like,
I like the experience.
the exchange of information and the in-person experience.
Is there anything else that you want to leave for the listeners to just, you know, when it comes to working hard and the end result, you know, finding fulfillment, purpose, things like that, that you can sort of leave us with?
That's such a difficult question. I mean, I've like constantly battled with certain people in life to be like, is this serving your greater purpose? Or like,
Well, no, like that's what's personal to you. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to battle. Like nobody can tell you.
Yeah. So for me, I have like some kind of like I think self-awareness and self-reflection is like one thing that I want to leave people with, because like you can.
Like that you had self-awareness, or that
you develop like self-awareness is some so.
Okay, you're telling like the listeners like
this is something this is something that I like say because like you know how there's a jack of all trades, master of none, but like today you can be mastering so many different mastering quote unquote so many different things, but like technically that's your jack of all trades, and that's you're mastering self-awareness, because like you're mastering that like I haven't reached the next level in like this trade. So just like that concept, jack of all trades, master of self-awareness. You can't keep going forward if you are not self-aware or able to like reality check with yourself that like this is lacking. And like sometimes people who can't sit down with their thoughts and be like genuinely putting their heads to it and being like, because I know so many people, and I used to do this a lot before, I would just go through the motions of the day and be like, okay, like now my day's over, I'm gonna go to sleep, like it's okay, it's over. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, like now I'm doing the same shit all over again. But like where was that like reflection, evaluation, and awareness of like that was your day, and how are you going to make the next day either add on to that day?
So do you do that like every night, or?
So I do that.
Or is that like not a conscious thing you do? It's just like you've taught yourself to just. I do that every night. I sit down with myself for like 30 minutes before I go to sleep, just alone time, and like reflect on like the events of that day and certain things that made me feel a certain way, or like 30 minutes. That's like a whole episode. You can
what
watch.
does that look like?
I write down things that I like feel about. I'm like listening to music if like it feels me, like it makes me feel a certain way, and like you just like what I do is I just like sit down and I'm like, okay, like this is literally physically all the events of the day. Now what did those events make me feel? What did I learn from those events, and how did I react in those events? And like that to me helps me be like, okay, like maybe I might have been rude in that situation, maybe I might have been successful in that situation, but like I can't let it get to me, because like there's a next step to that success. Like if I did well at work on one day and my boss said something good about me, I'll be like, okay, well she now knows I can do this, but like let me show her I can also do this, and like build myself out, because obviously like just being able to do that one thing is not mastering it.
She's dope. And where can people check you out? Anything you want to plug?
Anyone can find me on Instagram.
On Forbes 100.
Not
10 billion unders.
10 billion unders.
Getting there. I don't think, I honestly don't think that's important, because like it's a title, but like you can be on Forbes and like have someone in your like real first person not respect you. What's more important, that person respecting you or Forbes respecting you?
Forbes.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, like rich people are sad, like sometimes.
People are sad sometimes.
Yeah, like rich people are sad sometimes. They have terrible lives, and then a lot of them, don't know how to deal with it. They get into abuse, drugs, all types of things. But yes, okay. So thank you, Divya, for being on the podcast. We appreciate you, and we wish you the best of luck, even though I don't think that you need luck. I think you have the work ethic to get there. I think we have one last question to ask you. Are you guys ready? This is going to be another hour for this question. Both of you, ask it together.
Okay.
If you could describe yourself as any flavor, what would it be and why?
Oh my god, you guys.
That was scary. I'm scared. Okay, so if you didn't hear that, what flavor would you describe yourself as, and why?
What's the point? Why'd you?
Why would you redo that?
I just wanted to see if you guys would do it. And it was cool. It was like,
I'll tell you what. I think I'll be spearmint.
Okay. Spearmint as a flavor.
Yeah.
Spearmint.
First of all, my favorite ice cream flavor is mint chocolate chip, but also spearmint because it's like that force when you like first put a piece of gum in, and like before you start chewing, it's like that.
It's very cold.
How it feels to chew 5 gum.
She's like, what the heck?
Like,
What kind of
You guys-
feelings are you having?
You guys never seen those commercials?
No, yeah.
Not yet. Not
You
yet.
haven't?
Not yet. Did you
Oh,
say
so then
not
she doesn't
yet?
even know what, she doesn't get the reference.
Yeah,
then.
she doesn't get the reference.
Not
Okay.
yet. Yeah. But like when you first put spearmint in, it's like refreshing and like it's a sense of like freshness, and then it's like strong, but like also like good,
Cool.
Shocking.
Yeah.
like element of surprise.
Refreshing.
Surprise.
Okay. On that note,
Thank you, Divya, for joining us. It's been a very educational, very
even
insightful,
the whole weekend.
very fun,
The
very
whole
fun time.
weekend.
Yes. So thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me here this weekend.
Yeah, of course. It's been fun. Thank you for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll see you next time.
Emily